Okay, you on?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Rabbi Geller. Today's topic, something which could change your lives.
Yeah.
It's called spiritual realities. We start with a question. What's the definition of a mitzvah? Adrian, what do you say? What's a mitzvah?
Say mitzvah is a
Commandment. That's the translation of the word. I want a definition.
Connection.
What do most people say? A good deed, right?
Yeah.
Help an old lady across the street. It's a mitzvah, right? Of course, it's more than that. What's a mitzvah? Something which elevates you spiritually and brings you close to God, right? Like killing a Amalek, right? Putting to death the adulterer, bringing you close to God, right? It really does, but you don't always see it. Now, in the secular world, I'm facing you. Want to move it over a second? I want to be able to face the guys, right? In the secular world, people tend to think of mitzvahs in terms of religious ceremonies. What's a ceremony? Something that makes you feel good. A couple wants to get married. They don't want to just live together. They want to have an official. The rabbi has to say a blessing, or the priest, or the rabbi and the priest. It's off.
No, it's just saving power.
God forbid someone dies. You can't just put the body in the ground. You gotta say a eulogy, a prayer, a kaddish. Makes you feel good. But if you don't have a ceremony, you don't have a ceremony. What do we say in English? Don't stand on ceremony. You wanted to have a reform ceremony, we have the reconstructionist mayor. What difference makes it? It's only a ceremony, right? They asked the reconstructionist rabbi how to perform a conversion. You know what he said? Pick a ceremony that's meaningful to you and do it. Make up your own Judaism, right? Meaningful ceremony, meaningless ceremony. The ritual committee of the synagogue. They decide what ritual to do, which one to don't do, right? Now, from the perspective of God to give in Torah, it's much different. I'm not coming to prove to you there's a God. I'm not going to prove to you God gave a Torah. Assuming there's a God-given Torah. What is the definition of a mitzvah from the perspective of a God-given Torah? I would say two words. What's the mitzvah? Which I said before? A spiritual reality. Write that down. A spiritual reality, right? What's a spiritual reality? When was the last time you saw a spiritual reality walking down the street, right? But you know what a physical reality is, right? Right? It's a table, it's a chair, it's day, it's night. And when the reality changes, the rules change. You're driving your car during the daytime, you don't have headlights on. Turn it's dark, you turn on the headlights. What changed? The reality changed, right? Same thing when it comes to a spiritual reality. Friday afternoon, 10 minutes before sunset, you strike a match and light 2 candles. You get the mitzvah of lighting Shabbat candles, correct? What if you light 2 candles 10 minutes after sunset on Friday afternoon? What have you done? You've broken the Shabbos, right? Now, how do you intellectually, the exact same act of lighting 2 candles changes from a positive to a negative act in 20 minutes? What changed? Right?
It's time.
A Jewish woman puts a ring on a Jewish woman's finger. A Jewish man puts a ring on a Jewish woman's finger in front of 2 witnesses, and he says, "Harei because you're betrothed to me like the law of Moses and Israel." She's now a married woman forbidden to all men. If she has lips to other men, it's adultery. Very severe. A minute before he puts a ring on her finger, it's not adultery. So what changed? Just because he put a ring on her finger, say, put a ring on her finger, so what? Right?
Yeah.
A non-Jew wants to become a Jew. You know what the conversion process entails? What's he have to do? You know?
Oh yeah, he's going to the
Let's go to the mikveh.
Yes.
For a man,
Yeah.
circumcision, right? And the third thing, he has to accept upon himself to keep all the commandments. He does those 3 things, he gets a Jewish soul, he breaks the Shabbos, it's negative. A minute before he went to the mikveh, he breaks Shabbos, it's not negative, okay? So again, what changed? That's the question. And the answer to all 3 questions is, you know what changed? The spiritual reality changed. Meaning, what I'm telling you now can change the whole concept of being a Jew, or being a mitzvah. At the sunset on Friday afternoon, a spiritual reality comes into the world called Shabbat, and that changes all the rules. We take it a little bit deeper. What I mean to say is, if you believe in a God-given Torah, when God writes Shabbat in the Torah, he's not just writing a bunch of arbitrary do's or don't do's. By writing Shabbat in the Torah, God is creating a reality, not a physical reality, but a spiritual reality. When a Jewish man puts a ring on a Jewish woman's finger in front of 2 witnesses, he's creating a spiritual reality called a married woman. And adultery goes against that reality. How do you remove a marriage? How do you take over marriage? Divorce, that's the called a get. Jewish word called it, right? What's in terms of what we're saying? When he put the ring on his finger, he created a spiritual reality called the married woman. If he gives her a proper get, that removes that reality. But say she did not get a proper get. She got a civil divorce, let's say. Got remarried. What's that considered in Jewish law?
No.
Adultery, right? And she has a child from the second husband. What's that child considered? A mamzer, a bastard, severely limited who we may marry. At this point, everybody asks the question. It's not fair. Why are we punishing this poor child for his mother's mistakes? He didn't do anything wrong. Why are we punishing him? So first of all, I would like to point out that limitations in marriage in Jewish law are not necessarily punishments. For example, a Kohen. You know what a Kohen is? A Kohen can't marry a divorcee. Do you know that? High priest, you couldn't marry a widow. You have a Kohen, he's in love with a beautiful divorcee, he can't marry her. Right? Is there a punishment here? Did you do anything wrong? No. So how do we understand it? Yes, there are different degrees of holiness. We know the land of Israel is more holy than the Temple. And the city of Jerusalem is more holy. And Temple Mount is more holy. Right? And the Holy of Holies with degrees of holiness, right? A Jew has a certain degree of holiness. A Levi has a higher level. A Kohen has a higher level. A high priest has a higher level. And a Mamzer has a lower level. It's only relevant in one area of life, marriage. What's the word for marriage even? Kiddushin, holiness. The name is holy matrimony, right? And the area of marriage is a limitation if you're a higher level or lower level, right? But the question was, it's not fair. And so you're right, it's not fair. All's fair in love and war. Meaning, realities are not necessarily fair. Right? If I take poison, I'm dead. It's not fair. I know it's poison. It's not fair. All right. What would you say about a pregnant woman who took drugs or drank alcohol and caused her child to be born with a birth defect? Is that fair? The child should have a birth defect? Realities are not necessarily fair. Right? So mamzer is the result of the fact that when he put the ring on her finger, he created spiritual reality. If he went, adultery goes against that reality. The result of mamzer is the result of going against a spiritual reality called a married woman. All right. So my topic is not mamzer today. I'm just bringing the point I'm bringing out. From here we see that what's the definition of marriage? It's spiritual reality. All right. And I go so far as to claim there are 613 spiritual realities, right? 613 commandments, right? You know the 613, you know there was 613, right? I was counting like that, Rabbi. I'm in shock. What's the matter? I thought there was 10, and she's not the 613. I don't get it. They don't all apply today. So he says, Rabbi, I keep the 10 commandments. And you keep Shabbos? Shabbos. I didn't know that was one of them. I didn't know that was one of them. So, 613 spiritual realities. And the difference between looking at a mitzvah as a good deed, as a ceremony, as a ritual, and the reality is night and day. It makes a difference if we keep Shabbat. It's real. Torah is real. It's just not. It's not spiritual. It's not rich. It's not physical, right? So I want to do now. I want to give you a few more examples how realities are realities, how mitzvah are realities. Then we'll explain the concept. Okay? A few more examples. Okay. Let's take kosher. All right. Edwin, someone said, "Why can't I eat more pork chops? What's wrong with eating pork? What do you tell them? Why not?" It's not kosher. No. What? Why can't you kosher? Why won't you kosher? It's not healthy. Jews get, chicken osses. They don't give shit. It's healthy. A lot of lunches are very healthy, right? The only answer is God said so, right? But people don't like that answer, right? So I always answer a question with a question. They tell me, do you really understand the essence of God? I say, no. Well, maybe you understand the essence of man. No? Well, you certainly don't understand the essence of a pig, right? How do you expect to understand how eating the pig destroys the relationship between man and God? We don't understand the essence of God, man, and the pig. It's not an intellectual process, right? If you take cyanide, that's a physical process. The doctor will explain how it works. But if a Jew eats not kosher food, it can be very healthy to his body. It's poison to his soul. It puts a block between the Jew and the Almighty. It makes it more difficult to feel God's presence. If a non-Jew eats not kosher food, it doesn't bother him. Why? Why? If a person eats spoiled food, gets a stomachache, right? A dog eats spoiled food, why? Because the person has a more sensitive stomach than a dog, correct? A Jew has a more sensitive neshama. A Jew has a more sensitive soul. When a Jew eats not kosher, it puts a block there. So what's kosher? It's real. It's a spiritual. It's real, but it's not physical. It's spiritual reality. Yeah. Another example. Let's take money, right? You want to buy my watch? We make up a deal, right? We decided a price. We agreed on a price. All of a sudden, we hear on the radio, price of watches went sky high, which went straight down. I want to back out. You want to back out? They want to back out after an oral agreement. We didn't pay any money. Didn't sign any contract. We want to back out. Can you back out or not? What do you say? That's the answer. And the other opinion, of course, the answer is depends, right? What does it depend on? Right? Whenever you buy yourself something in Jewish law, you've got to make an act of acquisition, a kinyan, an act which demonstrates the transfer of ownership. If you pick up the object, you sign a contract, pay a down payment, right. So when you at a wedding, the bride and groom pick up a handkerchief to make a kinyan on the marriage contract, right. Before you sell the chametz to the rabbi, before Passover, you got to pick up a cell phone, right. When you make that act of acquisition, then you can't back out. Until then, you can. After that, you can. Now you're not a nice guy from that guy. Right? The rabbis say something called the Mishapora. You know what a Misha Berach is? When they call you up to the Torah on Shabbat, he who blessed Abraham, Isaac, he blessed this guy. Misha was the opposite. He who paid back the generation of the flood, the Tower of Babel, and the Egyptians and the Egyptians, you paid back the guy who backs down. You're not a nice guy who backs down. But until you make the acquisition, you can back down until like it. I want to sell my house for $10,000. And everyone wants to buy it. He wants to give me a $5 down payment. I'm not required to take $5 for $10,000, but I'm a nice guy, I agree. Gives $5. He now made an acquisition. The house now belongs to him, and he owes me $10,000 minus $5. Comes along Dylan, I'll pay you $20 for it. Oh yeah? Here's your $5 back, sell it to him. Too late. He's selling it. Right? He's stealing, right? I have ownership of this object. How did I get ownership? I bought it. I inherited it. Someone gave it for a present. If I have ownership of the object, if you're taking it without my position, then you're stealing, right? In other words, that acquisition creates a spiritual reality called ownership. Now we have definitions. What's the definition of stealing? Going against a spiritual reality called ownership. What's the definition of adultery? Going against a spiritual reality called a married woman. What's the definition of Shabbat? Spiritual Yom Kippur, right? At sunset of Yom Kippur, a spiritual reality comes into the world called Yom Kippur. And in Judaism, Yom Kippur goes down the reality. On sunset of Passover, a spiritual reality comes into the world called Passover, and the Jewish bread goes out again. Right? 613 spiritual realities. In fact, that you can actually create a spirituality at will. Right here in front of your very eyes, I can create a spirituality. How can I do that? So we're coming soon to Yom Kippur. You know the first prayer we say on Yom Kippur, what's it called? The first prayer on Yom Kippur, you know what it's called? It's called Kol Nidre. What does Kol Nidre mean? You heard that before, right? Kol Nidre means all vows. The first thing we do on Kippur, we take off our vow. What's the vow? I said a word. I will eat apples. I won't eat apples. I will do that. I won't do that. And that word that I said creates a severe prohibition. The first thing we do on Yom Kippur, take off our vow. What's the vow? I said a word. A vow is a spiritual reality, right? And kosher is a spiritual reality. And Shabbat is a spiritual reality. 613. And the difference between looking at a mitzvah as a good deed, as a ritual, as a ceremony, a meaningful merit ceremony, meaningless ceremony, and the reality is not, it makes a difference if you keep Shabbat. It's real. Shabbat is real. Kosher. It's just not physical. This point I get a question, Rabbi. Telling us there was 613 spirituality. I never saw a spirituality in my life. Maybe she's making all this up. Can you prove to me the existence of a spirituality, right? I don't like to use the word prove, because my experience, no matter what you say, you don't even prove it, right? I prefer to use demonstrate. I can't prove it, I can demonstrate. And I go so far to say that you and I and all human beings are in essence spiritual. We are spiritual realities. How can I demonstrate that? Say, tell me. Do you see with your eyes or with your soul? Physical eyesight, which one? Eyes and soul? Physical eyesight.
Physical eyesight?
Yeah.
Eyes.
Hear with your ears or your soul?
What?
You hear with your ears or with your soul?
Your ears.
Think with your brain or your soul. Okay, throw some more abstract, say both, right? I cover all your bases, but most people say they see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and think with their brain, right?
And now, I mean, if you're in a dream,
And now I'm going to prove you wrong. Imagine there's a guy standing right here, and he just died. He's lying on the floor dead. Does he have eyes? You know, there are unpacks. He can actually transplant the corneas. The eyes still work, but he can't see. He has ears, but he can't hear. Does he have a brain? Maybe someday he'll learn how to transplant brains. Imagine having Einstein's brain transplant. Maybe the brain still works, right? But he can't see. Now, what is a dead person missing that a live person has? His body isn't functioning. People in coma, their body, they're also all right. What is he missing? Tell me.
Soul.
That sounds too religious. Okay, call it soul. What do you want to call it?
Soul,
life, whatever. In other words, the eyes and the ears are only instruments. The instruments, right? You don't see with the eye of your camera. You don't hear with the antenna of your radio, right? The eye, they give the message to you. Now, who are you? That's the question. And are you your hand?
It's a part.
Well, your hand's part of you. Cut off your hand. You still here? Are you still there?
No.
If you cut off your hand, are you still here?
No.
If you cut off your hand?
If I cut off? Oh, am I still here? Yes.
Yes. So you're not your hand.
Yeah.
You're like, are you your nose?
No.
Okay. Are you your heart? Well, cut off your dead, but that's okay. Where were you before you were born? Where will you be after you die? Do you have a soul? No, you don't. The rabbi says you do not have a soul. Imagine someone's dying and the soul is leaving the body. You say, you have a soul. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. This is basic Jewish philosophy, right? I'm not proving anything. Before you're born, you're a soul. After you die, you're a soul. And while you're alive, your soul is temporarily put into a physical body. You have a body. This is basic Jewish philosophy. You are a soul and you have a body. You got that? Mm-hmm. Right? Now, is the soul physical? Can you see a soul? Can you measure a soul? Right? So, now a very, very, very difficult question. Volunteer for difficult questions, Dylan? Difficult question, right? Are you a reality? You think you're real? Pinch yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Someone once asked me, how do you know you're not somebody else's dream? I said, if anything, they're nightmare. A girl in a philosophy class, bro, she's not real. Friend said, you're not real? Do you mind if I fail you? Don't fail, you're not real. Don't fail. We think you're real. So if you are a reality in your essence, each you, what are you? A spiritual reality, temporarily put into a physical body. See that? We are a spiritual reality. They call it spiritual. It's real, it's not physical, right? And is God a reality for someone who believes in God? Even if you don't believe in God. I tell you, there's a guy in God who don't believe. He's still there, right? Maybe he's not there, you think he's there, right? Is God physical? Can you see God? Can you measure God? No. So God, by definition, is a spiritual reality. You can argue that God transcends reality. I don't know what that means. Whatever that means, I don't know. Whatever it means. But practical terms, the bottom line is basic Jewish philosophy. God, who by definition is a spiritual reality, created a physical world with physical realities, the laws of nature, the laws of gravity, the laws of physics, right? He created man who is a spiritual reality, a soul, temporarily put into a physical body, and he gave us a Torah which he defined 613 spiritual realities. And the difference between looking at a mitzvah as a good deed, as a ceremony, as a ritual, physical ceremony, meaningless, right? And reality is night and day. It makes a difference between Shabbat. Shabbos is real, kosher is real, it's isn't physical. That's my first point.
Something people, like, if they neglect their spiritual reality,
And they think it's just bodies, right?
they're gonna feel it in this world, or is it not something that they'll realize until?
Oh, well, that's the difference between an animal and a person. An animal is a physical reality, right? Without a spiritual reality, right? A soul, an angel is a spiritual reality without a physical reality, right? And the human being is a hybrid. We've got a body which is animal-like and a soul which is okay. Roman numeral 2. That's Roman numeral 1. Roman numeral 2, right? Some people think that science and Torah contradict each other. We don't believe that. We can deal with evolution, we can deal with the age of the universe, we can deal with all these issues, right? But Torah and science deal with different areas. Science deals with what is the world, what is water, H2O, what is fire, what is electricity, how can I use it? Torah doesn't deal with that. You want to know why fire, water is? Study science, right? What does Torah deal with? The answer is, Torah deals with relationships. How do I relate to water? Well, before I eat bread, I've got to wash my hands. Certain times I got to go to a mikveh, right? How do I relate to fire, right? I like Shabbat candles and Hanukkah candles, and if I make a fire in my backyard and it burns down my neighbor's house, I got to pay money, right? How do I relate to my parents, to my spouse, to my children, to my boss, to my worker? How do I relate to the guy who owes me money? I owe money. Torah is a handbook of relationships, teaching how to relate to every object, every person, to every situation. How do I relate to God? Love God, fear God, trusting God, right? How do I deal with anger? How do I deal with lust? How do I deal with jealousy? A handbook of relationships, how to deal with every object, every person, every situation. There can be no situation in life where one has to make a moral decision where the Torah will not tell you what it should be. There's a book called Holocaust and Halacha, which documents questions that were asked by the Holocaust victims to their rabbis in the concentration camps, in the ghettos, most unbelievable life and death situation. Can I save my only son if I know they're going to take an innocent boy in his place? It was a certain concentration camp where the commandant decided the boys are lying about their age. They said they're really 90, right? Put a stick at a certain height. Whoever couldn't get on the stick was going to be killed the next day, right? And they put these boys in the room. Next day they were going to get out and they were killed, right? Now you couldn't bribe the Nazis, but the couples, you could bribe. People had smuggled in gold and silver and diamonds, right? And this Hungarian Jew comes to the rabbi. The rabbi wrote about it after the war. He said, Rabbi, all my family was killed. I have one son left. He's in that room. I can get him out. Okay, I can bribe the drivers, but I know if I get him out, they're going to take another boy and put him in his place. Am I allowed to take him out or not? The rabbi said, you asked me a question of life and death when I'm starving in the concentration camp. I have no colleagues to consult. I have no books to consult. I can't tell you. Do whatever you want. But you're the only rabbi I've got to know. An entire hour he's begging the rabbi to answer it. An entire hour the rabbi refused to answer it. At the end of the day, Rabbi, if it would have been permitted, you would have told me. Right? You would have told me. I understand it's not permitted, right? Father Abraham, you didn't say, I'm ready to do it, right? There can be no situation which you have to more with the Torah was. So, which no moral decision with the Torah will not tell you what it should be. You may not want to say, you have to ask, right? You may not know what the answer is, right? But it's still on the Torah, right? Torah. So the first point I said was mitzvahs are realities. Second one is relation. Now, it's not a contradiction. It's two different aspects, right? If you go through the list of mitzvahs, right? For example, Shabbat is an example of a spiritual reality, right? Laws of neighbors would be an example of a relation. How to relate to my neighbors. How about marriage? Marriage is a reality. It's also a relation, right? It's both. You see, it's just two different points. Roman number 3, right? Number 3. There are two. In the secular world, you have a value system, right? The value system. I'm talking about the Western world. further east you go, you will notice the people living under very different value systems than those in the West. I say different because I'm not judgmental, not me. Right? Americans don't like to be judgmental. Right? I wouldn't do it, he's doing it. Who am I to say? You know why Americans don't like to be judgmental? You know why? If I'm judgmental, then what's going to happen? He'll be judgmental. You don't have to go very far to see it. You don't have to go very far to see that, right? In China, in India, when a man dies, they burn the body in the funeral pyre. Heard about that, right? You know the old Hindu custom called sutu. You know what sutu is, right? When the guy burns, the wife, they throw her on the fire. Don't you want to burn with your husband, right? She jumps on board. She has 10 wives. Oh, we're burn. That was the old Hindu custom, right? The British stopped it. Not because they wanted to interfere with the farm religion, they just couldn't watch, right? And the Indians said, that's our old revered tradition, until the British said, we also have an old revered tradition, it's called hanging for murder. So they stopped. They stopped. In China, under Buddhism, you had a baby boy, baby girl, you want a baby boy, what'd you do? You drowned her. Right, today there's a law, you can't have more than one baby, I think so, 2 already, right? If a woman gets pregnant when she's not supposed to, they force her to have an abortion. And if the baby's born alive as part of their abortion, what must the doctors do? Give it a you. I read about it, I couldn't believe it, right? Don't have to go any further to see that these people are living under a different value. I say different, I'm not judgmental, not me, right? A different value. In the Western world, we have a value system. Much of it taken from our Torah. Love your neighbor, honor your parents, right? Much of it taken from our Torah. One thing they don't have. They don't have a comprehensive system of priorities, right? What happens if you have a conflict between two values, right? A teenager has a trip. He wants to go on a trip with his friends up to the north, right? He's got a value, be independent. That's an important value, right? His parents say no. Now he's got it's another value on your parents. When you have a contradiction, what do you do? Is there any way you can know how to which value is more important? Am I right? Right. I'm not stopping breaks and go back to we said the first point I said was that we have realities. Second thing was that our relationships. Now we said in the secular world we have a value system, right?
Yeah. What about relationships?
There's no comprehensive system of priorities. Good? Right?
What was the thing about relationships?
Yes. I said the Torah is a handbook of relationships, right? Now, the third point is we have a value system. In the secular world, you have a value system, but you don't have a system of priorities. What if there's a conflict between 2 values, right? A teenager wants to go on a trip with his friends in the north. He's got a value, be independent, right? His parents say no. The other value, honor your parents. Is there any way you can know which values are more important? Do they teach that in school in America or in Australia? They don't teach that, right? The classical example of this is in the philosophy books is a Frenchman who was asked to join the partisans during the war, and he had an old mother he was taking care of. Should he go join the partisans or should he join the mother, right? Is there any way he can know which value is more important? If you don't have a system of priorities, what do? What you feel like doing, right? A teenager, he'll probably go to the trip, right? The Frenchman depends. If he's afraid to fight, he's taking the old mother. Why don't you fight for France? I have to take my mother. If he's sick of the old lady, he goes to fight. Why don't you think your old mother have to fight for France? He's got a good excuse no matter what he does. What will he do when he feels like doing, right? In the Torah system, not only do we have a value system, we also have write this down, comprehensive system of priorities. There can be no conflicts in the Torah. I'll give an example of that. It's called Aseh Dochel Lo Taseh. Positive commandment overrides a negative commandment. If God says do it, God says don't do it, we do it. For example, on Shabbat, it's forbidden to cut flesh and cause bleeding. That's the prohibition of the Shabbat, right? What if you have a baby boy and he's 8 days old and the 8th day comes out on Shabbat? What do? You make a circumcision?
Yeah.
Yes, we do, right? God says do it, God says don't, we do it, right? When we had a temple in Jerusalem, we brought sacrifices on Shabbat. It means making fire, slaughtering animals, cooking food, right? On Kippur, right? God says do it, God says don't do it, we do it, right? I'll give you a more comprehensive example of that. We mentioned the Kohen before. A Kohen is not allowed to contaminate to a dead body. You know that? Kohen cannot be under the same roof as a dead body. He can't go to a cemetery. He cannot attend a funeral except the funeral of a close relative. He's allowed to attend the funeral of his father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, wife. Right? A high priest who has to represent the Jews in the temple on Yom Kippur, he cannot attend even his own parents, his own father's funeral. He may not attend any funeral, right? His own father, he can follow the procession from a distance. He can't come near the body, right? One exception, makes mitzvah. What's mitzvah? You see a dead body lying in the street, you may not leave it there. You must bury it. It's a desecration of God's name. Man was created in the image of God, whatever that means. That can be many things. That can mean man has the ability to be godlike as opposed to animals, right? Or man has free will, we should talk about in a minute, free will, whatever that means, but it's an image of God that is riding in the street. That's a desecration of God's name. Let us give an analogy. Two identical twins, one became a king, one became a highwayman, a robber. They caught the highwayman, hung him up on a tree, everyone, hey, look, the king's hanging on the tree. It's an embarrassment for the king. He's looking like he's hanging on the tree, right? So even the high priest has got to bury it, all right? Okay. So we have a high priest. Yesterday was his father's funeral, couldn't get near the body. Tomorrow's Yom Kippur, he's going to Jerusalem. He's the only one who can do the temple service of Yom Kippur. And he sees a dead body, and there's no one else around to do it. What must he do?
Yes, got it.
Must bury it. So you see a system of priorities. The fact that he represents the Jewish people in the temple overrides his personal commitment to his father. But the fact it's a desecration of God's name overrides that. So there cannot be any conflicts in Jewish law. We have a value system and a comprehensive system of priorities. Okay, that's 3. Now I go up to 4. I'm going to rule 4. Okay, rule 4. The two basic fundamental principles in Judaism, which seem to contradict each other, really don't. What are they? The first is called free will. Free will. We believe that every human being has to some extent, except someone, every mentally healthy human being. Someone's mentally ill, I don't know how much free will, I don't know how much the free will. But all mentally healthy have to some more, right? And that's what gives meaning to our lives. Without meaning, there's no meaning. Take a child, lock him in the closet. Give him a key, you're such a good boy, I have no choice, lock him in the closet. Not a bad deal, lock him in the closet, not a bad deal, right there. When God tells Adam, don't eat from the tree, to do that it has a choice, either or not, right? And the consequences, positive or negative, to a choice. When God says Adam, don't eat from the tree, that means he has a choice to eat it, right? Keep on, let's go. Okay. He has a choice, and there are consequences to the choice that he makes. That's free will, right? So without free will, there's no reward or punishment, there's no choice, there's no free will. On the other hand, we have another principle called divine providence. Divine providence means God runs the show. Right? Matches are made in heaven. How you meet your wife, I can tell I met my wife. Divine providence. The fact that you're here today is divine providence. God, you want to hear this class might change your lives, right? Divine providence, right? You know, the joke was that the younger man and older man were sitting in a bus together, and the younger man asked the older man, "What time is it?" Didn't answer. What time is it? Time? Okay, it's 12 o'clock. No, I didn't answer you. I know how these things work. Ask me what time it is. We get into a conversation. You're supposed to have an eligible daughter. You're an eligible bachelor. You have to marry my daughter. I don't want to marry my daughter, marry someone who can't afford a watch. Divine providence. So it seems to be a contradiction. On the one hand, is it my choice? It's God's choice, right? God brought you to Israel to Aish HaTorah. That's divine providence, right? But you have to make sure now is it your choice or God's choice? The reason why it's not a contradiction is because we don't have free will in every area of life. For example, do I have free will to become a millionaire? Edwin, if I make the effort to be a millionaire, am I guaranteed to be a millionaire? No, try your best now. Do I have free will to be healthy if I'm ill? I'll take the medicine. Try your best to be healthy. Try to be a millionaire. Ultimately, life is healthy and ill, rich and poor is up to God. Free will is limited to one area of life, and that is morality. If I make the effort to be a good person, guaranteed I'll be a good person. But if I make the effort to be a bad person, you gotta be a bad person, right? So how to interact. God puts us in situations. That's divine providence. In the situation God puts us, we got to make a free will decision. God decided that I'm rich. I won the lottery. I inherited $1 million. Am I going to keep the money for myself to help others? That's free will. God decided that I'm healthy, right? Am I going to climb Mount Everest to help mankind, right? God decided that I'm healthy, that I'm poor, right? Am I going to steal, right? I'm ill. Am I going to complain all day? Every situation you put in, you've got to make a free will decision, right? So just to prove it's not a contradiction, there are 2 holidays in the Jewish cycle, one of which the main theme is divine providence, and one of which the main theme is free will. Which holidays am I referring to? Do you know? We're coming to it right now, right? When is it decreed what's going to happen in the year ahead? Who's going to live and who's going to die? Who's going to win the lottery? Who's going to win the election? Rosh Hashanah, right? Rosh Hashanah is divine providence. God decides what's going to happen in the world, right? So what do we do on Rosh Hashanah? We dig the apple and the honey. We say, give us a sweet year, right? What comes after Rosh Hashanah? Yom Kippur, right? What decisions did I make in the situations God put me last year? Boy, did I mess it up last year. Next year I'll do a better job. And that's free will. You see that? Rosh Hashanah is divine providence. Yom Kippur is free will. See, it's not a contradiction, right? And my final point, I think it's number 5 or number 6. Which one? We're up to 5 or 6?
4. It's 5.
5, okay.
But you said free will.
Free will. I said Yom Kippur. No, free will is Rosh Hashanah, and divine providence is Rosh Hashanah. Free will is Yom Kippur, right? On Rosh Hashanah, if the decree what's going to happen, that's divine providence. And in the situation God puts you, you've got to make it free will. God brought you to Aish HaTorah now. Are you going to leave tomorrow, or are you going to stay for another year? You come back 2 years later, right? It's all one. That's your decision. Free will, right? You'll come back. I'm sure you'll come back. Right? Okay. My final point is, what is the definition of free will? Are all choices free will? Right? My secular neighbors tell me, you Orthodox Jews don't have free will. You got to go to shul on Shabbos. I can go to the beach. I can go to the movies. I can go driving in the country. I got free will. I can go to the beach too. So, of course, I always answer a question with a question. Tell me. You go to the ice cream parlor. It's like vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry. Is that free will? Is that all choices free will? Is that free will? It's a choice, right? I'll give you a better example. We have a dog who is hungry and thirsty. Put him in the middle of the room. One side put food, one side put water. Where will he go? Food or water? What do you say?
Whichever he's feeling more.
What do you say? You got it. Most people say food or water. You're right. But it depends. Is he more hungry? That's right. You're right. Is he more hungry or more thirsty? It depends. Right? Can dogs have free will?
No.
But can they make choices? You can choose.
Yes.
Right. So what's the difference? Right? What's the difference? All the examples that I gave. What's the difference between that and free will? And all the examples that I gave, you're choosing one thing. You're choosing what is good for me. We'll call it preference. Would I rather have vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream? Would I rather go to the beach or to the movies? Would I rather eat, rather drink, right? I'm choosing what is good for me. The definition of free will, in my humble opinion, is, write this down, the choice between what is good for me and being good. I repeat, what is good for me and being good. You will ask, isn't being good to me? Right? Not necessarily in the short run, but in the long run, not necessarily in the short run, but in the long run, I'm very hungry now. The nice non-kosher hot dog stand here. I smell the mustard, my mouth is watering. Look at me in the moment, eat that hot dog. Being good is keeping kosher, right? Shabbat morning, hot summer day, Tel Aviv, right? Look at me in the moment is go to the beach, right? Being good is keeping Shabbat, right? But how do you know being good is? Isn't everybody good? Ask the bad person who's good or not, right? Idi Amin, ask Arafat. Adolf Hitler. Are you a good man? What do you think we said? Of course, I'm fighting for the Palestinians. I'm fighting to save the Jews. Al Capone, the murderer, right? They left him in jail. I'm basically a nice guy. Right? So how do you know what being good is? Are all people good? Right? Is morality relative or absolute? What did they teach you in school in the States?
They say it's relative.
Relative, right? But there was a court case over this issue. Very famous court case. I'm sure you heard about it. Very famous court case. The court case was called the Nuremberg Trials. And what was the defense of the Nazis at the Nuremberg Trial? What was their defense? You know what the defense was? We were only following orders. Right? In other words, they were saying morality is relative, right? We were following the law of Nazi Germany. In Nazi Germany, it was very positive to kill Jews. You don't kill, we kill Jews, you kill blacks, you don't kill blacks. Relative is relative. Moral, what right do you have to judge us based on the mores of your side? We have to go the mores of our side because relative is relative. And everybody understood intuitively. If the right we have to judge the Nazi criminals was not only because of the fact that we happened to win the war. If they would have won the war, they'd be judging us, right? But because there are certain morals that go above society, such as do not murder. If your society tells you to murder, then you've got an obligation to rebel against that society. If you rebel against society, then you can't blame us because morality is absolute, which, by the way, means God. There's no God. What makes anything absolute? Who am I to say? What makes anything absolute? Okay. So I will now review the entire class in one sentence. You ready? Listen fast, right? We asked the question: what is the definition of mitzvah from the perspective of God-given Torah? Not a good deed, not a ritual, not a meaningful ceremony. Mitzvah is a reality. Not a physical reality, but a spiritual reality. God, by definition, is a spiritual reality. He really is not physical. God created a physical world with physical reality. Laws of nature, laws of gravity, laws of physics. He created man who has a spirituality and soul, temporarily put into a physical body. And he gave us a Torah, which he defined 613 spiritual realities, and the difference between looking at a mitzvah as a good deed, it makes a difference. You shouldn't even missile to the moon. You're up by a fraction of a millimeter. You're not going to make it to the moon. It makes a difference if you keep Shabbos because it's real. Shabbos is real. Kosher is real. It's just physical, right? Science deals with what the world is. Torah deals with relationships. How do I relate to every person, every object, every situation? There can be no situation like one have to make a moral decision where the Torah will not tell us what it should be. Torah is a handbook of relationships telling how to relate to every object, every person, every situation. And we have a value system and a comprehensive system of priorities. There can be no conflict in the Torah, right? And God puts a situation, so that's divine providence. In the situation we've got to make a free will decision, right? And what is our decision? What is good for me? Or being good. And how you know being good it is? That's why we have a Torah. The Torah defines what being good is. I rest my case. Turn it off.
Yeah.
Now